Hello and welcome to the fourth section on user registration and authentication. In this section, we will deal with the problem of user registration and authentication. And at first, we will look at user registration. In this video, we will learn about the Django user framework, implement the sign-up feature for our blogging app, and along with that, add the functionalities for login and logout. So let's get started. Django ships with the user framework, which contains the common requirements of a web app related to user management. This helps in reusing the Django components instead of re-implementing them again and again. Let us open the forms.py file under the blog folder. Here we have imported the user model from the django.contrib.auth.models module. Having this model at our disposal means that we do not need to implement our own user model. Let us pause for a moment and take a look under the hood and see how it's implemented. This file is the Django code itself, and the highlighted section is the user model we are using in our code. It inherits from a class called AbstractUser, which we can see that contains the field for username, first name, last name, email, and other related fields. Let us come back to our code and try to understand why we are importing the model here. We want to implement the sign-up feature, and the first step that we would need is to present the user with the sign-up form. As a result, we want to import the user model and create a sign-up form. Here, we are declaring the user sign-up form similar to the blog post form with the fields username, email, password. Here, the password field needs some special treatment because we do not want the input on the web browser to be available in plain text. As a result, we add this line by declaring a char field and setting the widget to forms.password input. This ensures that when the form is rendered in the browser, the password field would hide the user input. Finally, we need to override the form's save method. This is once again required for the special handling of the password field. At first, we call the save method of the parent class, which ensures that the default behavior is applied. But we also pass the commit equal to false flag. This ensures that the object is not written to the database and a commit transaction is not completed. This is a minor optimization that is useful in production systems. In the next step, we call the user.setPassword function. The setPassword function takes the plain text password, which is contained in the cleaned data dictionary of the form. The cleaned data is populated once we call the isValid function on the form itself. We will take a look at that in our views later on. Storing passwords in the database in plain text is a bad idea. As a result, the setPassword function, which takes a plain text string, creates a hash of the password before writing it to the database. This ensures that even if an individual has read access to the database, they can look at the password, but they would not be able to figure it out because the database stores the hash of the password instead of the plain text. Finally, we save the user object to the database and return the saved object. Let us save this file and open the views.py file inside the blogs folder. We define a new view called signup view, which is of type template view. The rest of the view is very similar to what we've already created earlier. We define the template name as blog/signup.html. The get function for handling the get requests is simple and renders the user signup form as part of the response. In the post method for handling the post request, we create the user signup form from the data received in the post request. We validate the contents of the form and simply return the form, which would also contain the errors in case the form is not valid. If the form passes validation, we save the form, which calls the custom save function that we have defined in our form definition earlier. And finally, we return an HTTP response redirect for the user by redirecting them to the post's URL. This is obtained by calling the reverse function on the name posts. Let us now save this file and create the template signup.html. The signup.html template, like other templates, lives under the templates/blog directory. The contents of the template is also very similar to what we've created previously for our other form pages. The only difference here being the action URL, which points to the signup URL. However, we've not yet defined the URL, so now let us open the urls.py file and define a URL mapping for our view. We import the signup view from the blog.views module and define a URL at accounts/signup for the signup view, and we name it signup. Let us now start the server and open the signup URL. As you can see, we have a signup form in front of us. Let us fill it up and press submit. This should complete a signup successfully. You can see that the user has now been redirected to the posts page, which is the expected behavior of our view. You can use the Django Shell for verifying that the user was created. Start the shell by running the following command. Import the user model and run this query to retrieve the user object. You can verify the username and email of the user by printing it on the console. Now that we've completed signup, let us take a look at how to implement the login and logout views. Once again, Django has our back. Django provides a set of views in the django.contrib.auth module. These views are a collection of user management views like login, logout, etc. Instead of implementing our own, we will use the views provided by Django. We will create the URL accounts/login and map it to the login view, which can be obtained from the auth views module we've imported above. You will notice that we are setting the template name to blog/login.html. We will create this template shortly. Once again, this is very similar to the previous templates we've created for submitting forms. The only difference, as you might have guessed, is the action here, which points to the login URL for the correct view. Let us save the template and the URLs file and start our server. And now we should visit the account/login URL. As you can see, let us now log in into the site using the username and password that we've just created a short while back. And you can see that we've been redirected to the posts page. However, we don't yet see an indicator as to who the user is currently logged in. So let's open the base.html template and add a welcome message. We add this tiny HTML block. Few things to note here are the start of this if block and the end of the if block. These are critical, and a mistake in the syntax will make the template not function according to the intention. Django passes the user variable as part of the context to the template, and consequently the username is also available in the template. However, if a user is not logged in, which means the user type is an anonymous user, as a result the username attribute would be empty. Therefore, if this condition evaluates to true, it indicates that an active user is logged in at the moment. If it is false, then a user is not logged in. In the case that a user is logged in, we will display a welcome message to the user with the user.username variable. Let us save the template and refresh the page. You can now notice that there's a welcome Alice message displayed on the screen. If you open the URL in an incognito window, you will notice that the welcome Alice message has disappeared, as the user is not logged in incognito window. The redirect URL after the login operation can be controlled via a config setting variable. This setting variable can be set in the settings.py file. In our project, we've set it to login_redirect_URL as /posts, which is where the user is being redirected. This is helpful in case developers want to configure the behavior according to their application logic. Not setting this variable will lead to the following error, as the account/profile URL is the default behavior for a successful login. And finally, let us add a URL account/logout for the logout view. This is once again being used by the Django module auth_views. We set the template name to login.html, which is the same as the previous view, The reason for this is that after a successful logout, the user would be redirected to the login URL. We can control that by setting the next page variable to the as_view call. In this case, we've set it to accounts/login. We save this file and restart our server. The logout view accepts a post request for a successful logout operation. To integrate this view into our code base, let us come back to the base.html template and add the following snippet under the same if block that we had added just a while ago for the login functionality. The reason behind this is that we don't need to show a logout button to a user who is already not logged in at all. If you notice, this is a form where the action points to the logout URL and the method being set to post. Let us save this file and open the posts page. You will notice that the logout button is available to the top right corner. Clicking on it will log the user out. This also redirects the user to the login page. That's what's the behavior we have intended during declaring the URL for the logout view. You can verify that the user has been logged out by visiting the posts page again. With that, we come to the end of this video. You can find out more about user authentication by clicking on the following link.